Welcome to the Confident Retirement Podcast. Is doing the most important things alone a good idea? How comfy are you with your choices when it comes to life's biggest decisions? What is real peace of mind with financial confidence, and how can you get it? Kris Flammang and Mark Peachy are the founders of LPF Advisors in Sarasota, Florida. On the show, they bring together the best and brightest minds to share with you how to have a more confident financial picture. They empower listeners with simple, common sense and financial wisdom. And now, here are your hosts from LPF Advisors.
Welcome, everybody, to the Confident Retirement Podcast, brought to you by LPF Advisors. I am your host, Kris Flammang, and today I have Samantha Allen with us on the podcast. She is a Massachusetts attorney, a counselor at law, and owner of Law Mom LLC. Her firm takes a modern legal approach, taking into consideration client-specific family dynamics. Law Mom is one of only a few in the state of Massachusetts to carry the personal family lawyer designation. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yep, should be good. So your story that was kind of the catalyst for you opening your own practice is very powerful. I was hoping that you would take us through that, please.
Absolutely. So about 2 years ago when I had my son, Wes, I had an extremely traumatic birth, which almost caused me to lose my own life. And even though I was an attorney, I didn't have any estate planning in place, which I knew better, but it does happen. My husband and I were like, oh, we're young. We don't need it. It's fine. And long story short, I was in my hospital bed writing my estate plan, and it was not an experience that I would wish on anyone. And this prompted me to realize I could really use my legal degree to help the community overall. So I started to reach out to my friends and ask if they had plans. Most didn't. Approximately 69% of parents don't have plans, including nominations of guardians for their minor children. So I opened Law Mom, and it's been great, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Cool. So you don't recommend doing estate plans from the hospital?
No,
right?
not at all.
Hospital bed. We don't recommend that. And you brought up something there about guardianship. So in Massachusetts, I don't know, in Florida it might be different. In Massachusetts, how does that work if someone has minor children and they've never done any guardianship designations?
Great question. So if you don't write down whom you want legally, write down or document whom you want to take care of your children if you were to become incapacitated or to pass away, and this is, of course, both biological parents not being available to care for the child, the state will become involved. And in Massachusetts, we call it DCYF, or Child Protective Services. So they come in, they care for the children, and then a judge will make a determination on whom will take care of your children in the short term. And if it's with regard to the long term, if you were to pass away, who will basically become the parents to your children. Mm-hmm. So we do a kids protection plan in our office, which covers short-term to long-term guardians. I always say A to Z, right? So if you are incapacitated, we have guardians. If you pass away, there's guardians, because we are trying to eliminate court involvement in terms of whom your children will go to, because the judge doesn't know you and won't know whom you want.
And I think it's important for people to understand is through just some basic planning, it's something that is completely avoidable.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It doesn't have to be that way, right?
Yeah.
So do you think there's something you would tell your younger self that you know now that you wish you knew then?
Yes, definitely. Always plan for the future. I am a huge proponent in living in the moment, but also now, thinking, I would say, think about your living in the moment and how it will affect your future self, because problems can easily be avoided with proper planning across the board, I think.
Yeah. So maybe YOLO isn't the best policy forever, right? You only live once.
No.
Yeah. Maybe for a while. You're taking some chances, taking a risk, but eventually you got to make the switch. All right. So I'm curious if you can define for me what a personal family lawyer is. How is it maybe different than, a traditional or estate planner, and what kind of enhancements that brings to the clients that you serve?
Yes, so a personal family lawyer is basically your lawyer for your family, right? So the way that I basically built Law Mom was to have a place that parents and others could come to and feel comfortable coming to and really have conversations, right? So I could tell you all these legal terms and people look at me and are like, I have no clue what you're talking about. So I tried to streamline the process, and we have to have the documents, of course. They're the byproduct of what we really need because legally we have to have documentation, but we're really relationship focused. So honestly, my clients have become friends, and we do events at our house and have the kids over, and it's been really wonderful. And from there, we really promote checking in with our office, letting us know what's going on with your family, any changes, and we offer 3-year complimentary check-ins for all clients so that they can make sure their plans are up to date because laws change, families change. So we offer that personal touch.
So I guess in a way, estate planning sometimes can be looked as a transaction. You come in, you do something, and then you're done, right? You're saying that it doesn't have to be transactional. It can be more of a relationship that's ongoing as things change in people's lives.
Absolutely, right. I always say to clients, you have a junk drawer in your house. We have a lot of junk drawers. Yeah. You don't want your estate plan in the junk drawer. You want to keep seeing it.
Yeah. So is there something that you like best about your business right now?
I really like actually going off what we were talking about, the relationships that I have with my clients. I think that was I know that was my goal with Law Mom, and I see it happening, and it means a lot to me. I have clients calling saying, hey, Sam, we just had a baby, or we just bought a house, or whatever. And I love that they feel comfortable to call me and update and really make sure their plan is working for them.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to, they feel like that you're a trusted partner. I have that sometimes clients that call me that want my advice on things that maybe aren't financial related necessarily, but they're big life decisions that they have to make, and they want my input because they value my opinion as their advisor and also their friend. Is there an area of your practice that you get the most enjoyment out of currently? So a specific area.
The meetings. I love meeting with clients and chatting and sharing like family stories. And honestly, you would think when you're doing estate planning, you won't be laughing, but we have a lot of laughs in our office, which is nice because it's such a heavy topic that I think you need to be able to laugh about it.
Right. You can't take yourself too seriously.
No.
You can be serious about what you do, but we shouldn't be taking ourselves all that too serious, right? There's enough of that in the world to go around. So do you think there's a misconception that the general public or people have about your line of work, what you do?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. I hear it all the time from clients who call or potential clients that call in, and they'll be like, you're the attorney? And I'll be like, yes. Because I don't know. I think it's important for me, and why I went on my own, because personality is really important. You want to have an attorney that you love, like, and can work with, right? So I make sure my office isn't intimidating and is very open to our clients and potential clients. And we come from a place of education.
So the misconception is that attorneys are very serious. They're domineering, or they're telling everyone what to do, and because they know everything. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you said it. No, not all attorneys. I think, there's a conception that law has to be very formal and there's no room for laughing, and in some areas of practice, that's true. But I also think, in this line of work, we're dealing with families. So we need to take a step back and really listen to what the family that's in front of us needs.
Okay. What do you see as being the biggest fears or concerns that people typically come to you with when you engage with them?
So I would say fear in terms of being embarrassed that they'll be judged because they don't have a plan. I hear that very often. I would definitely say that some people feel that if they plan for it, it will happen, which, knock on wood, I haven't heard of that. Right. And then also just not knowing, right? Not knowing enough about estate planning and coming in and having no idea. So we start all of our initial consultations off with education so that people really understand in like normal language what it means to do an estate plan.
All right. And do you believe there are some common blind spots that people have when it comes to the work that you do? That being like things they're not aware of or things that you end up having to bring up that they didn't even think of.
Totally. So for probate, oftentimes people will say, oh, I have a will, I'm good. My assets will just go to my family. That's not true. A will goes through the probate court, which costs money and can tie up assets, especially following coronavirus. The courts are so backed up, right?
Yep.
So we talk a lot about the utilization of different types of planning to avoid the probate court so that assets can be distributed right away to family members, especially with children. And then also estate tax. People oftentimes don't understand what that looks like. There's a federal estate tax and then there's state estate tax. In Massachusetts, estate tax starts at $1 million, which is very low. So most of the time, if you own a home and have a couple policies in a retirement account in Massachusetts, your family will get hit with an estate tax. So that's a huge conversation that we have. And then also the guardianships that we talked about before, naming the kids or naming guardians for your children outside of your will is very important. And then having incapacitation documents like healthcare proxy, power of attorney, all of those things. So it's more of a package that you want from A to Z versus just one document.
Can you think of a recent client experience that you had that was especially satisfying? Some problems they were facing, what they wanted to try to accomplish and how you helped them?
Yeah, so I had a family come and they're into my office and they were a blended family. So mom had kids, husband had kids, and then they were getting married or they had gotten married, excuse me. And yeah, there were some challenges there in terms of, figuring out where the assets go in terms of if mom or dad passed away, do the kids get included? What do they leave to their spouse? And those types of things. Do they want their assets together, separate? And we really spent a lot of time outlining different options. And in the end, they picked a plan that worked for them, but they also left letters to their kids explaining why they made the decisions that they made, which I think is hugely beneficial because sometimes your loved ones might not understand why you did something. And then when they read it, they on paper, they'll understand. And it eliminates a lot of heartache or conflict later.
Yeah. That's a good point, because otherwise they're left guessing and making their own conclusions about what they think the motivations were of the parents.
Right. And they're always, I've always had my clients with great motivations, but sometimes how it looks on paper, it might come off the opposite, right?
Right.
So I think it's important to explain.
Kind of like text messages, the context. There's no context with text messages, right? People don't see the face when you're sending a text. They don't know what the rest of the context is to get the meaning of it.
Right, like the capitals. My parents will write okay in capitals. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? They're like, I'm not. My fingers are too big for this.
Yeah,
the keyboard.
I hate this phone. Okay, so speaking of your parents, do you have a first memory or experience with money? So going back to when you were a kid, or maybe it was when you were an adolescent.
Yes, I had to do chores to get money.
Okay, all right. And how did that work in your house? Was there a list on the fridge, or how did that all work?
We had lists. I don't remember if it was on the fridge, but we had lists, and I had to do chores to get money. And then my mom instilled it in me that when I turned 14, I would have a job, and I had a job at 14. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
And what was the going rate for chores back then?
$1. Now it's 20.
Wow. Wow. That's rough in Massachusetts with the estate tax limit being so low, right?
Right.
How are you going to do anything with that? So are there any experiences that you've had in your business that made you keenly aware of the positive or the negative impact of wealth, right? So money itself is not like a negative or a positive thing. It's how people use it or the interpretation of how they think they should use it. So is there anything an example you might want to share, either positive or negative, on the impact that wealth has on people?
Yeah, I think, I have such an array of clients with different income levels, but I find that people sometimes don't understand what to do with their money, right? They're like, we have all of this money, we're not sure what to do. And then I will have clients who have a lot of money and they're just like, we want a basic plan. We aren't worried about anything, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. And we have to go through all the stuff and explain to them, what will happen to their family in terms of when they pass away and estate tax issues. And then I have clients who are young families just starting out and they've gone through probate and they don't necessarily hit the estate tax yet, but they do the full plan with the trust and all the extra provisions because they know how probate affected their family, and they want to plan for it just in case. So I think, it's very interesting to see the different dynamics. And with regard to wealth, I think there's a lot of just not knowing, right? There's a lot of need for education and across the board in all professions.
Do you believe there's a particular tool or document or tactic that you find is probably the most helpful or makes the biggest impact on somebody when it comes to estate planning?
So yes, we do what we call a family wealth planning session in our office. We have our clients fill out paperwork and then we have just a general snapshot of their life. And I started to put together an Excel spreadsheet of all of the stuff or assets that their family basically owns at the time, important people, etc. We put it on the screen and then we look at how, what's missing, life insurance, is there a need for a financial advisor, a CPA, those types of things. And of course, as an attorney, my focus is legal, but, we have conversations and I get asked a lot of questions. So that's really important there. And then it allows us to show them on the screen how probate will affect their family, how estate tax will affect their family. And oftentimes I'll hear people be like, oh, I don't even have life insurance. I need to do that. Or I don't have this. Oh, that's really important because they'll see the blank spots on the screen.
Yeah.
Just opens the conversation about, what might be missing or what might be needed.
Those blind spots. Nobody likes seeing blank spots on an Excel spreadsheet when it's about them.
Right, totally. The best part is when I do these sessions, people are like, oh, my house is worth way more. And I was like, this is the one time actually you want your assets to be less.
Right. You don't want it to be worth that much.
Right.
Well, trust me. Right. What would you say is your biggest life accomplishment so far? So this could be either personally or professionally or both.
My biggest life accomplishment, this is going to sound so cliche, but I would say my family, honestly, like having my son and just the way that our family works in terms of me having my own business. My husband has his own business and somehow we work together to make it work, even though I feel like daily I'm in a life of chaos, but it works.
Right. Yeah. You get through the day and move on to the next one and it all seems to fit in.
Yeah.
Right.
Somehow, some way we manage.
Yeah, I don't think that's cliche at all. I mean, most people's, if you ask them their biggest life accomplishment, it's usually on a personal level.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you weren't doing what you are doing now, what would you be doing instead? So was there some, life goal you had when you were little? Did you think you were going to grow up and become this or that?
So my mom always tells me that I told her I would be the first woman baseball player for the Red Sox. So that didn't happen. I don't remember that. But I don't know, actually. I wasn't sure about, for law, I didn't want to work for a big firm, but in law school, that was what we were really taught to do. So back then, I wouldn't ever think I would be here.
Yeah.
But my journey brought me here. So I think this is really where I love it. I really love what I do every day. I wake up excited for work. Otherwise, I think I used to say the president, but no, not anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, who wants to do that?
Not now, right? When you're little, not anymore. No, I think this is where I need to be. I have an office out of my house that my husband built for my firm, and I get to see my son at lunch, and it just really works. If you asked me in my 20s if I'd be doing this, I'd be like, no. But now it works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So outside of your practice, is there something that you're really passionate about personally? A cause or an endeavor or, an interest that you have?
Yes. So about 3 months ago, my son, Wes, who I said before is almost 2, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which means his pancreas just stopped working, right? So it doesn't have anything to do with his eating or anything that we did. His pancreas died. So we are his organ, his pancreas making him work. And I have become really passionate about helping other families with special needs in terms of planning and special needs across the board, like medical, whatever it is. So we have been working with some local groups to help with raising money or doing events and stuff to raise awareness of type 1. But I've definitely become passionate about that. I never knew the difference until if my family was affected, then it definitely is life-changing, right? It's like having a newborn because we're waking up with him and giving him shots and caring for him. But it's definitely changed my perspective on life a lot, what's really important, and don't let the small things bug you. When you see a 2-year-old getting shots like a champ and I'm like cringing doing the shots, just the way life happens. So we're definitely passionate about children and especially children with type 1.
That's neat. Do you think there's a interesting or unique fact about you, Samantha, that no one knows about or very few people know about? This is a time for your confessional.
My confessional. I'm trying to think of something really cool. Well, some people, I guess you would. Before I did this job, I did marketing for a theme park in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then I used to be an avid figure skater, and I would do skating competitions in Europe. So,
all right. Did you have a favorite place in Europe that you went?
So I traveled. Where did I go? I didn't skate in Barcelona, but I loved it. I loved that they had siesta time, nap time for grown-ups. So
We all miss kindergarten, right? We had there's a half a day, you get a snack, you get to take a nap, and you color and you learn your ABCs. I mean, it was the best grade of all of them.
Right.
Yeah. Is there something that you follow or read or listen to on a regular basis to try to stay up to speed on everything that you need to know for your work?
Yeah, so I do a lot of conferences with regard to estate planning. And then there's a group of attorneys in Massachusetts that we've just formed our own little group, and we talk regularly. So I have some awesome mentors and stuff that have really helped grow my practice.
Okay, so is that business mentoring, like helping you with the business of being a estate attorney, or is it specific to tactics that are used for clients, or both?
I would say both, yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's something that I participated in that helped me a lot with the growth of my practice as well. So what would you think then right now is the most exciting part of your business? What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about Massachusetts opening back up and actually being able to hug people and have them over to my house. We're a very big hosting family, so doing dinners and outdoor activities, and really learning or figuring out an even better way to educate the community on the importance of planning, but also enjoying it while we're doing it, right? So making it fun.
Okay. And in terms of growing your business, what do you see as your biggest opportunity?
Networking and being able to meet people in person and offering, free educational tools to learn about what needs to be accomplished in terms of helping other families.
Yeah, there's only so much connection you can do probably in Zoom calls.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, what do you think your biggest challenge is in your business right now? What's the biggest challenge? Time? And what do you mean by that?
Not having enough time to do stuff. I have all of these things I want to do, but the days are short, right? I feel like there aren't enough hours in the day.
Yeah. And I want to go back on something you said earlier. When you were in school, you said they kind of train everyone to become a corporate lawyer. So is there, in law school that you're aware of, is there any classes or any time that they spend on any of the courses on if you were to have your own law practice, like the business of having your own law practice? Are you aware of that? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, not when I was in law school, but I did read from one of my mentors was on social media, and she works for a law school. I forget where it is. And I believe she started doing a a business practice, like a solo practice class, which I think is really important.
Yeah, because I don't know what the statistics are, but there's some percentage I'm sure that go into corporate and then other ones that go out on their own. And as you're finding out, the business of you could be a really good estate attorney or a really good lawyer, but there's a whole business part of it, right? So you might be good at that, but running a business that does that may not be somebody's forte or something that they're necessarily great at. And having those mentorship relationships are probably where you're getting a lot of that information.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's really lacking in terms of, in school, anyways, from when I graduated, offering the other ways to be lawyers. And I agree. I always joke with my clients or potential clients on calls. I'm like, they didn't teach us how to do Zoom and PowerPoints in law school. So it was definitely learning. I knew how to do it, but it was new to me for sure in the beginning.
Now we're all experts.
Totally, right?
Unfortunately. Yeah, we had to. We didn't have a choice. Right. Do you feel like there's a question that I should have asked you earlier, or would you like to expand on anything that you said?
I think you had the awesome questions. I guess for expansion, I would say, I always tell people when they ask me about how to get started, it's that initial phone call, whether, you're in Massachusetts and you reach out to me, it's just giving a call to an estate planning attorney and really finding out what needs to be done, because we're not planning for ourselves, right? We're planning for our loved ones. And I see a lot of conflict and chaos when planning isn't done. Yeah. And the last thing anyone wants, like especially me as a parent, is like my family fighting about assets, right? So if you can really plan ahead, you're saving your family so much heartache later, additional heartache, because of course they're already emotionally, distraught. And I hear time and time again that the planning gives my clients peace of mind, which is awesome.
Yeah. And that's all we can really hope for and strive for with people is we've helped them avert something that's completely avoidable, that if they didn't take care of it would be a big mess, right? So the chaos of that. If people want to learn more about you or contact you, what do you suggest is the best way to do that?
So we have online, so lawmom.com. You can call our office. I have staff here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I'm on social media. I have all the channels open because if you're like me, I'm like, oh, I'll shoot this person a text message or a Facebook message. But we do have live answering service, which my mom instilled in me. I hate when I call somewhere and I have to talk to a machine. So
Right. So. Yeah, that's almost like a lost art nowadays, where if you call a business or somewhere, a live person answers the phone.
Right.
That used to be that was the standard, the expectation. Now it's almost like a unique thing. Wow, somebody was really there and they talked to me and they knew who I was. Yeah, it's a lost art. Samantha, listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. You've been a really good guest, and it's been a real pleasure to have you here and to interview you. We've been here with Samantha Allen from Law Mom, LLC. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Confident Retirement Podcast, brought to you by LPF Advisors, where we are raising the retirement confidence of everyday people to another level, one show at a time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Confident Retirement Podcast with Kris and Mark from LPF Advisors. For more information on them and retiring confidently, please visit lpfadvisors.com. If your ears are pleased and your mind is now at ease, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.